Party time. You know what they say. Kratz, you probably like this. One more sleep until opening day.
My kids never got to that one. They never, because there's always like, oh, one more sleep till dad's home from the road trip. My kids were like, whatever. So
you're saying
then
you would get moved to another team and they'd be like, never mind, more sleep.
No, actually, he's not. One more team.
Hey, we have an announcement today. Right off the top, we have a new teammate. You're very familiar with him, but he is now officially joining the Foul Territory roster. So we're very excited to announce a reliever coming out of the bullpen for the FT team to join Trevor May, who was announced a couple weeks ago. Take it away, bud.
Hey, what's up? This is Jonathan Papelbon, 2007 world champ with the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox all-time saves leader, Phillies all-time saves leader, 6-time All-Star, 2 times Rolaids Pitcher of the Year, and going into the Red Sox Hall of Fame in 2024 this year. And I've got some awesome news I want to share. Not only am I going in the booth with Nesson this year with the Red Sox, but I am joining Foul Territory Podcast full-time now. No more guest spots. I'm coming in full-time. And whether it's a big Ohtani gambling scandal or me giving you baseball gambling winners, making you rich, baby, I'm coming in, no bullshit, real talk, and I can't wait to pop a bottle on this year baseball season coming up.
Energy, baby. Energy.
Let's go.
I mean, how often is he coming on?
Full time.
What does that
all
mean?
All day, every day. No.
I mean, what does full time mean?
He will be on the show frequently, popping in from wherever the hell he is. Boston, on the road,
whatever
with the
state
Sox,
he's in.
Mississippi, yeah. Whatever planet he's on. We love Pap. We had such a great time with him, especially in the playoffs last year. And we're like, we got to make this happen. You did have a blast with him. Remember in the playoffs sometimes.
Listen, he's great.
We were cracking the fuck up.
He's great, but there are some times where you have to crack the outer skirts to keep him on task.
And he's in for it. You say, hey, Pap, got to be a good teammate here. We got to take you off the rails and put you back on.
Yeah, there are times where you have to literally get back. Let's focus, Pap. Let's focus. Because he'll start talking about skulls and this and that, and you're like, no, let's focus back on this.
That's why he wants to be with you guys, because he likes how we've got a roster of 10 dudes. So, Todd Father, if you got to go over the problem with him a little bit, you'll listen.
Yeah, man, that'll be a good conversation to have. It'll be a lot of energy. We'll solve it, though. We'll solve it. He knows how to solve problems, so we will. It'll be one way or another. Quirkiness, all the craziness to go about it. It'll be a lot of fun, man. That'll be awesome. That'll be a good time to have him on the show.
Yeah, and he loves Kratz. He loves Kratz. I remember the first interview we ever did with him. Kratz just took it away for the most part. I was like, Kratz, I don't know if he knows my name, so you just dominate this because he loves you from those Philly days. And he's going to pop on for, 20-minute spurts and go over whatever the hell's going on in the league. And then also he is a very dedicated picker, sports bettor, and he wants to be involved in our locks on a daily basis. So he will submit picks as often as he can.
He will definitely make me interested in what his picks are, and I'm going to definitely research. I mean, he's really smart too. Watches a lot of baseball, understands what it's like to be where we were as players, but also now being able to have the freedom to say whatever he wants. Because before, when he played, he said whatever he wanted. Now he really can say whatever he wants.
Correct. That was a big deal for him. So, Pap, welcome to the Foul Territory, fam. We love having you here, and I think you'll have Pap's first pick tomorrow for opening day. So we'll get to that. Let's charge the damn mound. The offseason is over. Jordan Montgomery.
Charging the mound.
Jordan Montgomery has signed. Sure, there's a few.
First of all, why we got to do
but
that to Robin Ventura when he just gets his ass kicked daily on the show now?
If he writes in personally and doesn't want it there, then we can make an adjustment.
Well, oh man, poor Robin. Okay, continue now.
Mm-hmm.
I have that
Jordan
big
Montgomery
poster of
is a
him.
Diamondback. You
getting
do?
slammed. I do, and Nolan signed it for me. And that was the first thing I told him. I said, or when we, after spring training, I said, I know I have that poster. He signed it. I'm just waiting for one more autograph. Do you know where I can find him? And he was so mad at me, bro. It was so funny.
You mean not John Russell chasing him down?
No.
Was that John Russell?
I'm pretty sure it was John Russell, yeah.
Was it? I don't know. But I'm sure he told you the story, Todd, about how he didn't want to go, but they had a meeting and he had to go.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
That was bad decision.
Bo was
that
so
was
mad. He hesitated. He hesitated, though.
Hesitated. Yep.
What are you going to do?
So did every major league team besides the Diamondbacks, which Kratz knew was coming. I mean, clearly you got word from him. You must have. He's your source.
He definitely
Monty is – he did. He called it a few days ago. He was like, he's going to be a Diamondback. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. So $25 million vesting player option for a second year. He needs 10 starts, and then he could get a second year. But obviously if he's making his starts and he's good, he's going to want to go back to the free agent market and see if he can do a little bit better. So thoughts for Monty, thoughts for the D-backs. They have the Eduardo Rodriguez injury. Let's start team-wise because I'm excited. If I'm an Arizona fan, they're freaking out right now. Can you imagine if you're an Arizona fan coming off a World Series appearance and you get to March 27th and I tell you what your offseason was like and it's capped off by Monty? You're like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Suarez, Peterson, Monty, Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, they had a nice offseason, especially for a team that typically doesn't spend a lot of money. For them to do what they did, this was nice. This is a nice cherry on top for Mike Hazen and Torey Lovello and the rest of the Diamondbacks, man. If you're a Diamondback fan right now, get excited because guess what? Also, the NL West just got even more interesting. Not that it needed more, but the Giants did what they did. The Dodgers did what they did. The Padres have made moves. The Diamondbacks have made moves. And then you have the other team that didn't make the Rockies. They haven't done shit.
They're waiting.
They're only in the third inning of their offseason.
They were in the ninth inning when it began.
Third inning of their rebuild. But Kratz, they're a World Series contender. I mean, they made it last year. They added like 5 dudes. How are they not another World Series contender?
I don't think they were before they added the 5 dudes. That might be me hating on them. They're saying it was a lucky run, whatever. Now with these 5 moves that they made, significant moves, this is what other teams should have done that have a young core of really good players. To me, this just puts the cherry on top that the Diamondbacks ownership wants something done with the stadium. Because teams that want a new stadium, Royals, and I mean the real Royals, not the White Sox, the Royals, the Diamondbacks want a new stadium. They didn't go out and sign the Shohei, the Blake Snell to a $190 million deal. They went out and they added a lot of really good pieces to a team that I thought was lacking. I think the biggest pickup this whole offseason, I get it, Jordan Montgomery's no starting pitcher, is Suarez. Eugenio Suarez brings it in the clubhouse and he could hit 40 dingers. Christian Walker and him could be 35-plus teammates. You don't get that a lot. And coupled with Corbin Carroll playing MVP level play in just his second full season in the big leagues. I love this team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% on everything you say. I'm just frustrated for why it took so long and he didn't make enough. You look back on all this stuff, like these players are getting gypped, man. And, you go back to a couple of different things, who your agent is, what is MLB doing about this? What is the PA doing about this? There's nothing that is changing. It's getting worse for the players. And you could sit back and say, listen, he's making $25 million. That's great, but it's not anywhere near what he should have made. So that's the frustrating part for me. But I do agree, Diamondbacks are looking great. It's a great pickup, but I feel for a guy like Jordan Montgomery who had an unbelievable playoff run, who's been great, and to make only $25 million, get a 1-year deal, he must have been going through a lot. Were there other teams trying to get him, or was it a battle, or like what? There's all this underlying factors going on. You feel happy for the guy because he's making some money, but it happened so late too as well. There's just so much going on here.
3.20 regular season ERA in 32 starts, postseason 2.90 ERA in 31 innings. Huge pickup for Texas. I mean, he was the best pickup of the trade deadline, and he was one of the main reasons why they won the World Series. And you add it all up, and he's making the same as Sonny Gray this year, but Gray has 2 more years added to his contract. And Gray was great. It's not a knock on Sonny. It's just we all expected Jordan Montgomery to hit at least $100 million at the beginning of the year and at the offseason. He didn't touch it.
Let me ask you this. So if they knew 1 year, $25 million, would a lot of other teams be involved in that?
At the beginning of the offseason?
Or just now? Like if Boris came to like 4 other teams, hey, we got an offer for $25 million. Can you beat that? Would other teams try and jump on that or no? I would say so. Right or wrong? No?
Yes.
No, Kratz. I mean, you're saying yes, but teams had a chance.
Teams had chances.
It's available.
I think Boris didn't call every other team.
Yeah, calls them every 5 seconds, doesn't he?
I mean, we heard it earlier from Yankees camp. Our source at Yankees camp saying, I don't know, we're already kind of set. That was halfway through spring training. So maybe some teams, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some teams are looking at it like, no, we got our rotation. It's totally fine. What? Like any team that looks at their number 5, let's say you have the best 1 through 4. If you look at your number 5 and say Jordan Montgomery would not help, would not be better than your number 5, I would say you have to – there could be 2 teams. And I'm only saying that because I think the Phillies are one team, and I don't know which the other team would be that would say maybe it's not an upgrade.
But you see that tweet. You see that tweet right there, which is frustrating to me. Why wouldn't the team put up $5 million more? I don't – that little crap like that boggles my mind. Yankees, listen, Alex put up his thing. I don't understand why you're not willing to go from 25 to 30. It's only $5 more million. That just boggles my mind.
Yeah, Alex Fast, friend of the show. Very interesting that teams in need of more pitching, like the Yankees, Orioles, and Mets, weren't willing to go 1 year, 30. I'll add a team. What inning is the offseason for the Chicago Cubs at? And also, are they like building back up? Because they do have a pretty nice crop of minor league talent right now. They have a nice farm system with some players coming up that could be good. But are they trying to win this year? Like, are they trying to be a World Series contender now? Because this person would have slotted in really nicely to their rotation. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, it's mid.
There's a whole lot of teams that could have done it.
Yeah.
The Cubs, yes, of course.
But, like, Boston's not good.
Boston's not doing anything, so we can give up on them.
They're last place team.
But the Rangers had a chance. They couldn't do it, right? They didn't do it, right? The Cardinals, he would have gone – I mean, the Cardinals would have been nice in the Cardinals rotation. They didn't do it. They're happy with what they did. I mean, there's a lot of teams that he would have looked really good in their rotation for this number. Problem is they didn't want to do it. I don't know why. I'm not in on negotiations, but they didn't do it. And the other question is, for me, is next year's free agent class, how good is that going to be? Because you know Montgomery's opting out. Snell's probably going to opt out, right? Chapman's going to opt out. Bellinger's got a chance to opt out. All these. And then you have the guys that are, Alonso, and there's a ton of other guys that are free agents too, Soto. So it's
Garrett Cole.
Man, next year's Garrett Cole.
No, but he's going to get that extra year
depending if
tacked
he
on.
pitches this year.
Yeah,
but
I don't
think about the free agent class for next year.
It's really good.
But what teams are going to spend? We ran into that this year. Which teams are going to spend next offseason? Because that's what matters. And sign early, boys.
Hassan Kim, Alex Bregman, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, Walker Buehler, Alex Presley. There's a lot of names. I could go on for a few minutes here. It's a big free agent class.
It's a big one.
All right, well, let's bring in our first guest to talk more through this and get the Diamondbacks perspective here because, I mean, they're on fire out there right now. Nick Piecoro joining us, covers this team on a daily basis, and you can follow his work in the Arizona Republic. Also follow him at Nick Piecoro. Nick, great to have you on here. Appreciate the time. How wild is it out there?
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Nick, how wild is it out there? What was the response from Diamondbacks fans?
Psyched, man. Yeah, people are psyched. I mean, I think they were already pretty excited about this season. I think they had a pretty good winter. already. Right. I mean, they're bringing back basically the same team that went on a huge run and got to the World Series, and they're better on paper than that team was. And now you had Jordan Montgomery, and I'm just getting texts from people all morning last night. It's people are excited, dude. They're pumped.
Nick, have the Diamondbacks taken over Phoenix in the Arizona area? Because the Suns were so hot with Booker and Kevin Durant for a while. The Cardinals obviously fell off, and who knows where the Coyotes are at these days. But have the Diamondbacks taken over as Arizona's team now?
I think they have a chance. I mean, the Suns have been in that, at the top of the pecking order for a long time. Knocking them off will be hard. But I mean, I do feel like this is the best opportunity the Suns or the Diamondbacks have had to do that in a really, really long time. The recent history of the franchise is they make the playoffs and then they miss out for 4 or 5 years. They fall off for 4 or 5 years and they make it again. And, it's just been very cyclical that way. I feel like the things that we've seen around town, the excitement that we saw last October. I mean, you see D-backs gear everywhere now. People are talking about the Diamondbacks everywhere now. It just makes this season really important for them to capitalize on it. I don't know if they have to win the World Series or get back to the World Series, but they got to be good. If they can be good again, I think people are ready to jump on this bandwagon with this team. It's a lot of young, exciting players, so it's a big opportunity for them.
I don't want to read your own tweet back to you. It feels like Twitter cannibalism. But you mentioned in your one tweet about the fact that he's going to go to the minor leagues and ramp up. But that means he's not going to be able to get a qualifying offer. Had he started the season in the big leagues, is this a caveat that maybe Boris knew could be used, that he doesn't receive a qualifying offer because he doesn't start the season on the big league roster?
Right. I think that kind of limits his value a little bit, right, for the club, because they know they're not going to be getting anything on the back end. But yeah, I think that that he still has to pass a physical, and he still is going to have to, get added to the 40-man and all that at some point. So if you read the language in the CBA, it sort of sounds like he's going to have to be put under contract after the season gets started. So maybe they won't finalize it until Friday. I don't know exactly. But my understanding is that if he's not on that team, he's not going to be able to get a QO.
That's it. Very interesting. Have you heard anything about where he's at in his progress and his progressions moving forward? Do you think it's going to be a month-long progress, or do you think it's going to be a couple starts here and let's move him up?
Probably somewhere in between. Yeah, maybe somewhere in 2 to 4. I would. I mean, even as recently as a couple weeks ago, I was talking to people in the D-backs front office, not specifically about Jordan Montgomery, just in conversation of like, geez, it's getting late. What are they going to do with these guys? It's always risky when these guys sign late. So they're very aware of it. I'm guessing that they're going to be very careful with the way that they progress. And I mean, they've got, I don't think Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be out too long. And they've got, guys that are competent big league starters in, Fott and Henry and Nelson, guys that have, been competitive pitchers in the big leagues for a while. So I don't think they're going to rush him back. And right. I mean, there's history to not wanting to do that. You look at what Alex Cobb and Lance Lynn went through, was that 5-6 years ago? Guys that hurry back don't tend to do super well. So I think Montgomery was built up to, I read somewhere, I think Travis Sawchuk tweeted last week, he had been built up to 75 pitches, but you guys know, throwing 75 to a catcher in a backfield situation is not the same as having guys in the box.
Was this completely precipitated by the fact that Eduardo Rodriguez is hurt? Or do you think they were looking for another guy to replace Nelson, to replace, Fott? I think probably earned some starts with what he did in the postseason, but do you feel like they would have still gone after him had Eduardo not been hurt?
No, I don't think so. My understanding is that these talks all started up after Rodriguez got hurt last Tuesday, I think it was. It didn't even sound like the D-backs thought it was going to happen. I caught wind of it, I want to say on Saturday, was asking around and told it was not looking like it's something that's going to happen. I think they just don't really ever really know what to make of negotiating with Boris, and they don't really get a good sense of where they're, where they stand. Apparently yesterday, or the last, maybe 48 hours, as the kind of conversations started to pick up and they started getting more back and forth from Boris's camp, they started thinking, okay, maybe this might actually happen. And I guess it really came together yesterday afternoon.
Nick, this moved quick, obviously. Because other than Erik Kratz, nobody really had talked about the Diamondbacks much for signing him. So this had to move quickly. And Mike Hazen, Torey Lovullo, they had to be doing cartwheels down Chase Field last night when they found out, right?
I agree. I can't imagine anybody thought there was ever going to be a world where, at the beginning of the offseason, you'd have access to Jordan Montgomery for 1-25. I think every team in baseball probably would have jumped at that opportunity. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about it, why this was a place he wanted to come to. It's probably not hard to figure out. He saw these guys last October, saw how good they are. It's interesting how we just haven't seen this in Arizona in a long time, right? Kind of the winning feeding into that sort of thing. I wonder what other opportunities he had and why Arizona was so appealing to him.
Well, it's a nice place. If you get there in time, he's a little late, but you can have spring training and the regular season in the same place. That is appealing, whether people want to admit it or not. That's a big deal. But let's go on. We've hit Monty enough. Paul Sewald's out to start the year, left oblique. What's his timetable for coming back, and how big of a blow is this to the Arizona bullpen?
It's huge. They said it's a grade 2. Sewald said it was a low grade 2. So I don't know, somewhere in the probably 6 to 8 week range would be my guess. But you look at the way that the bullpen everybody sort of settled into roles and everything took shape and the whole unit took off after he came aboard. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how everybody adjusts. It was an area that they didn't really do anything with in the offseason. I thought it was justifiable, right? It just felt like that was such a strength of the team for the first time in maybe ever for the Diamondbacks. They've just had bullpen problems really going back to the beginning of the franchise. And you felt really good about it last year. It was bizarre, honestly, as someone that's covered the Diamondbacks for a really long time, to think like, okay, once they get into the 6th inning, they give the ball to Ryan Thompson, and then it's going to go to Ginkel, and then it's going to go to Sewald. It's, they were so lights out in October until Corey Seager got Sewald in game 1. I guess they're probably just going to bump Ginkel up into the closer's role and kind of figure things out. They've got some other guys. They've got, Miguel Castro and Scott McGuff, and Luis Frias has really come on here and seems like he may be ready to take a step forward. But we'll see. I can't really overstate how important it seemed like it was for Sewald to come in and sort of just put everybody in particular roles and how much they thrived once he got here. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle him being gone.
Yeah, and the best part about that, excuse me, he's coming on the show tomorrow, so that would be great. We'll get a lot more conversation about how he feels. Give me a guy in this organization right now that nobody's talking about, a guy, that you think this year he's going to come on strong, help this team. I think of a guy, hopefully I didn't answer your question, like Alek Thomas. I feel like
that's exactly what I was going to say.
All right, go ahead. You talk about him. I feel like he's just coming on into his own now.
Yeah, his spring has been, I don't know. You guys know how it is with spring training. You never really know what to make of what you're seeing. Are guys just, hunting heaters and smoking balls all over the field because of that? Or are these adjustments that they made real? I kind of feel like with Alek, he's made some tangible changes with his swing and his setup. He's also at that point in a career where, guys get to around 1,000 at bats and things often start to click for guys. It's usually not the Corbin Carroll path, right? You don't usually just show up and dominate from day one. I can't speak to the specifics of his changes. My colleague Teo Mackey wrote a big story on it. I'd encourage everybody to read it from a couple weeks ago. But I know that it seems like his timing. It seems like he always had an issue where he would roll over on his front foot, and his timing kind of had to be perfect. It seemed like I feel like his swing now it may buy him a little bit more room for error, and allow him to get synced up and on time a little bit more often. But man, he's had an impressive spring. It's been fun to watch. He's been spraying balls all over, and he's been putting together way more competitive at-bats against lefties. And not to mention, he's coming off an October where he had some really big hits for them, and I think that's going to help his confidence as well.
When I talk about World Series teams, playoff teams, talk about 2 or 3 really good pieces of starting rotation, talk about a good center fielder, an MVP candidate, a great catcher, all things that the Diamondbacks have. What's going to happen at shortstop, though, for this team? Because Jordan Lawlar wasn't what they were hoping in the first month of an opportunity that he got. Where is this shortstop position going to be solidified for the majority of the season?
Well, Perdomo's going to get the first crack at it, and he deserves it, right? I mean, he was great for stretches last year. He made the All-Star team. He struggled in the second half, but if you look what he did in the playoffs, man, I mean, it felt like he was starting rallies all the time at the bottom of that order. It's a little bit stunning to watch sometimes, and if you look at his Baseball Savant page, it's quite an experience. It's a lot of dark blue and it's a lot of dark red. So it makes you wonder, why don't teams just attack him more often? Why can't they just throw him strikes? I guess it's maybe easier said than done sometimes. But it also, I don't want to take away from the fact that he has incredible plate discipline. He seems to just recognize faster than most guys, like right when it's out of the hand, he just can tell. Whether it's where the pitch is going to be, what type of pitch it is, whatever it is, he's really good at it. And he just does not chase. I think that it is an interesting question. Obviously, Lawlar has a huge ceiling. I think Blaze Alexander has had such a huge camp. Probably isn't a name that's on a lot of people's radar. But he was I think a 11th round pick several years ago. He's been in the system for a while. He's performed really well at the upper levels the last couple of years. And I think he might make this roster as a bench guy. I think, like, if you'd asked me, 2 months ago, if there's an injury on the infield, what do they do? The answer is, of course they'd bring up Lawlar and, move things around, and either Lawlar's at short and Perdomo moves, whatever it would have to be, they would find a way for Lawlar. I kind of wonder if Blaze's performance this spring, coupled with Lawlar looking like maybe he could use a little more seasoning, and some of the struggles he had last year, briefly in a tiny look, I recognize it was a really short and limited look in September, but I kind of wonder if Blaze has put himself more in the conversation now for opportunities if they arise.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us. And you can see some of these clips. We'll post them, and follow Nick at Nick Piecoro, Piecoro. Good times in Arizona. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Nick Piecoro from the Arizona Republic on Monty signing with the Diamondbacks, like Kratz mentioned. Todd Father, for the money motivation here, I'm curious because of the player host perspective we get here. Does Monty pitch with a big-ass chip on his shoulder this year because he's pissed about how it all played out? Like, how do you handle this? You're still getting a lot of money. And obviously for normal people, they're like, dude, you're rich. But you entered the offseason thinking that you were going to be super, super generational rich, $100+ million rich. And now you got to keep proving it.
No, I think he's a professional. I think he goes out there and he takes a deep breath and he understands, all right, I'm a baseball player again. It's okay. It's all right to be upset too as well. That's fine. But I think knowing him and knowing the type of person he is, how calm, cool, and collective he can be. He does get angry. I've seen it before, but he's going to go out there and shove. He's going to go out there and be the professional that he can be, knowing that hopefully if I do the same thing, or if he does the same thing, he's going to have another opportunity to make another big contract. And then that's when you got to think about, what do I do? Do I switch around with agents? Do I, talk to my wife and whomever? What's my next steps to try and figure this out? Because, it was frustrating. And I know if he wasn't frustrated, I don't know who's going to be frustrated. So worry about the now. Go out there and do your best, because if you don't do well, things won't be the same and the opportunities won't be the same.
Biggest thing is I would love to see Monty make sure he stays who Monty is, kind of what Todd hit on. Because if you sit there and go, okay, well, maybe I didn't get this because I didn't have enough strikeouts. And then he starts chasing strikeouts and his innings go down. Or he starts chasing strikeouts and, his effectiveness goes down. He needs to stay who he is. Chip on your shoulder? I don't know. I feel like if you need a chip on your shoulder, I feel like that's something that he's already had based on the fact that the teams have traded him, teams that have not done well, and then he's been, he's brought into a team and he won the World Series last year, anchoring a team. Like, you sit there and you go, I don't think he needs a chip on his shoulder any more than before. To me, it would be more what Todd said. Make sure you check your agent. Just because, hey, he didn't quite get me what he was going to get me, are we taking the same route next year? I'm not saying change your agent. I'm saying just check it.
Yeah, I mean, that's their job. Get you the best deal. And I have to imagine if there was more aggression early on in the offseason, you would have gotten a better deal.
Sign early. This year's offseason was sign early. That
Yeah.
was the key. Sign early, you were good. If you didn't sign early, you got 1-year opt-outs.
Sign early or the squeeze is on. It's bargain shopping.
Listen, the owners are getting smarter. The owners are getting smarter. The GMs are getting smarter. The days of Scott Boras waiting around and finding an owner that'll pony up at the end look like they're gone now. So you're going to have to be more aggressive early in the offseason.
Teams also just don't care if they lose out on a player.
Also
That's
true.
what I think it is. I don't know that they're getting smarter. I think they're getting just more. They're able to take on more risk. Like, It's okay. It's okay if we don't get Blake Snell. It's fine if we don't win the World Series. But I think the teams that made moves, went after guys, they want to win the World Series. So it's the end of the offseason, even though Tommy Pham doesn't think so. Like, teams are showing there's the haves and the have-nots, and it really has little to do with money. It's the ones who really want to do it and the ones who really don't want to do it.
Well, I can also tell you that many teams operate the same way. They put numbers on every player. I'm simplifying things. And they say, if we get him at this price, bargain, great, dub. If not, we let him go. For fantasy baseball players, like an auction draft. I just had mine last night. It's like, this player's good at this value. If he goes too high, I'm not getting him. And that's it. I don't care. And they're not too concerned about how he's going to fit in. And, there's another dude that's at a similar number and we can get him for less. Cool. Let's get him instead.
No, we've talked about this repeatedly on the show, though. Teams look for reasons not to sign players. They used to look for reasons to sign players, make their team better. Now they're looking for reasons not to sign players because, I can save $1 million here or there. When I might be able to get a better player for that $1 million, but this guy's he's only one win behind the other guy, and we can save $1 million, so my owner will like me. So let's do that.
I remember I worked with one player. I'm trying to remember who it is, who made good money and told me about like one of his last free agent experiences. And he said it went from the team putting your face on the scoreboard to the team just calling your agent and telling you what's wrong with you. And this was a player who was still good. I'm trying to remember who it was, but he was like, they used to wine and dine and show off how amazing you'd be with the org. That's only for like a very few now. So he said that list got a lot shorter. Most of the calls are, it's like arbitration. There was this problem and that problem. We don't know if he's going to be a starter or reliever. We don't know this. We don't know that. So here's our thought process. So anyway, Diamondbacks made out great with this one. And the Yankees just made a little pickup. John Berti, the speedster from the Miami Marlins, has been picked up in a little 3-team trade involving the Rays as well. Rays and Marlins are going to do a ton of business together because Peter Bendix worked for the Rays. They already have done a few things. Vidal Brujan's part of that mix coming from the Rays. But anyway, in this trade, you've got John Berti going from the Marlins to the Yankees. Catcher Ben Rortvedt going from the Yankees to the Rays. That's the super jack dude, but didn't have a spot because they have other catchers in front of him. Rays outfield prospect Shane Sasaki to the Marlins. Yankees prospect John Cruz to Miami. And there's a chance John Berti could get some playing time early on with the Yanks because DJ LeMahieu has that bone bruise. So you pick him up. And the Marlins had some depth in the infield too, right? Like they didn't really have a spot for Berti right now when you've got Bell, Berger first, mix. Arise second, Nick Gordon, Vidal Brujan, Xavier Edwards when he comes back, Tim Anderson signed. So I think he was odd man out.
Yeah, and also Rortvedt, the big thing that no one's talking about is Rortvedt to the Rays because they didn't have a backup catcher. I think it was Pinto is his name? Pinto?
Renee Pinto?
Yeah, Pinto is the catcher, right? And they brought back Mejia on a minor league deal, but I don't think they were happy with him. So Rortvedt to me is a big deal because he's going to get a chance to play a lot in Tampa. Because the Rays don't play their catcher 130 games. They're going to do basically an even split. So this is a good move for the Rays and for Rortvedt because he's going to get an opportunity to play. In New York, he was the odd man out. I mean, you have Trevino and you have Austin Wells, and then he was kind of like their insurance guy in AAA. Well, now he gets to go right to the Rays in the division and get to play a lot. So this is a minor trade that has big implications in this division.
And
Godfather, injury bugs hitting the Yanks. Yeah, Kratz?
Go ahead,
Oh, no,
Kratz.
I was just saying, you get the Rays pick up a guy who, receiving number-wise, the value is through the roof. So he hasn't hit in the big leagues yet. His minor league numbers say he will. He puts together a good at-bat without a ton of power, but his receiving numbers are huge, and that's all the Rays are looking for. And, oh, ho-hum, some guys go out and start hitting when they play there because they get to play more often. And so that's a way that they find that value. For the Yankees, getting Berti puts a different look in that lineup if he's going to be starting every day at third base to start the season. He gives them a little bit more flash on the base pass, like what Volpe does, but Berti's been doing it for a long time. And when DJ's back, maybe it gives them that opportunity to not have one of the younger guys up in the big leagues as their utility guy.
And we're not talking about this, but they have their leadoff guy now. This guy is a prolific leadoff dude. He's fast. He gets on base with that lineup coming up for John. I mean, Soto, Judge, Stanton, Rizzo, all healthy. Just get on first base, dude, and everything will be just fine. So he'll steal some bases. He'll get guys over. There's going to be a lot of – we talk about, what are they called? Nerfies and what is it? The other one.
Yeah.
When you get it.
Yerfies.
Yeah, those Yerfies. Yeah, first inning runs. There's going to be a lot of them. You know how the Braves did it last year. This guy could help out in the first month here, and they can go from there. And you think about Rortvedt. It's silly to say this, but he's got all the signs now from the Yankees. So now if he's on the bench, they're playing him. Let's talk a little bit. That's the game within the game.
Wait, you're telling me that John Berti's going to be the leadoff guy tomorrow for the New York Yankees?
He might.
Wow.
Well, who else is in that spot? Because DJ's out.
I know DJ's out. I've never heard of a guy bone bruising his back foot, by the way, which is weird. He fouled a ball off his back foot. Isn't it his right foot?
I've done that once. It's terrible.
The back foot?
Your back foot?
Oh, yeah. Sinker in. It was, I don't know how I did it, but I had to wear that leg guard, which I've never worn. And I felt like my foot was 100 pounds. It was for about 2 weeks. It was bad.
On your back foot or your front foot?
Back foot, man.
Todd's so embarrassed about it. I can see it in his face. He's like,
He could.
Yeah,
he,
but I mean,
he
okay.
He could be the leadoff guy. I think it's you think of who else. You got Volpe as well, but you want to put that pressure on him again, right off Jump Street? I don't know. I mean, I love
Glaber?
pressure.
that's
What
what
about
I
Soto?
thought.
Not Soto. Soto leadoff?
Yeah, walk. I'll go up there and walk.
Why
You ain't
not?
gonna swing.
Two.
Why not?
He's gonna swing
Why
this
does
year.
the leadoff
He's
guy
gonna
got to be speed? Because you have two guys behind him that can hit them in from the parking lot. They don't need to be fast. Like the whole Philly argument of Schwarber, why is Schwarber the leadoff guy? You're only leading off one time a game. Why does it have to be a speed guy?
Schwarby.
You're right.
Bombs.
You're right.
I don't know. I just don't think you talked about Volpe. You want to throw John Berti in there? He gets to the Yankees today. And by the way, you're hitting leadoff tomorrow. I mean, that might be some pressure on the guy too. I think it's going to be Glaber probably to lead off, which, listen, you want to talk about a great place to hit and hitting in front of Soto, Judge, Stanton. Put me there, please. That's a great place to hit. You're going to get some pitches to hit.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Berti fits in with the age too. And the Yankees are an old team.
They've been
Berti's
old.
a grandpa in baseball. He's 34 years old. He's fast as hell, but he's old.
He should retire.
No, 2 years ago he had 41
he made it up
twice.
late.
He did.
Part of the
He was a
crew.
late bloomer.
He was
his
a grinder.
rookie year. I mean, he was. He's in the Kratz school. So 2018, he played 4 games. That was his debut. 28 years old, and really with Miami has been his whole career. So 29 years old in 2019 is when he started actually getting to play ball. So he went through it for a while. Last year, though, he didn't play as much. I don't think it's similar. He didn't run as much, I guess, 16 swipes, but he had 344 on base, 294 average.
He's a good player, but you can't overexpose him.
Right. He's a utility off the bench dude.
100%.
Play for a week for DJ LeMahieu. Okay.
Yeah, fine with that.
Right? Because is DJ out for that long? I mean, I'm hoping he's back in about a week, right, when he's eligible.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I mean, it just seems like it's been lingering a little longer than usual. I would like to see what Glaber's numbers are leading off, then batting sixth. I would just, I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like he has his best. He had his best year batting in that middle of that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see what Boney wants to do.
We will. And
it won't be Verdugo, I don't think, because he's 0 for 5 off Fromber tomorrow.
Right.
Because they open in Houston against Fromber. So Verdugo's an option there possibly too. I'm looking at their team. Rizzo's hit leadoff before for the Cubs back when Joe Madden would try anything.
It wouldn't
Grisham,
go left, you think?
No, not against Fromber. But I'm just saying an option at some point maybe.
Yeah, game 2.
Because also the Astros don't have a ton of lefties in their bullpen. I think they might have 1 this year, whereas in the years past they had 0. So that's not as big of a deal.
Josh Hader's not even a lefty. He's just like a regular, just machine baller.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even count, lefty or righty. That doesn't
matter.
Heck, actually, you probably might want to face his lefty because you might get a slider because no one can hit his heater.
True. No, it's a good call, though. I mean, it was not an ideal spring training for the Yanks. I mean, Top Father, you're on Yanks games and all that. The number one goal in spring training for any team is what?
In spring training is to stay healthy.
Right. There's a few teams that went through it. And we'll get to the injuries for some other dudes a little bit later on, but they don't have DJ to start the year. Is Judge okay?
From the looks of it. I don't think he'll ever be 100% after the injury. I don't think anybody's 100% after injuries, age, father time. But if you can give me that 75, 80%, I'll take that every day of the week from a guy of his stature.
You're saying the toe separately from the...
I'm saying, the toe, the abdomen, everything. I mean, if you don't have a certain amount of time off on certain injuries, stuff's going to linger. And it's just how you deal with it. Your pain threshold, how you deal with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get our next guest going on FT Live. He is the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, joining us right now. His first year on the job, Chris Getz. Chris, how you doing, man? Congrats on the job. We haven't had you since all of that. And how was spring training?
Thanks for having me, guys. Spring training was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it. Obviously, my first go at it as a new general manager here with the White Sox, but we put a lot of work into working towards 2024 and beyond, and to be out in Arizona at Camelback Ranch with new front office hires, some additions to our coaching staff and others throughout the organization, along with new additions to our roster. It was fun just to have it all centralized and being able to lead this organization in this position. obviously a big responsibility, but I really enjoyed it and excited about tomorrow.
Well, Getzy, first of all, thanks for coming on. I'm glad you wore your standard GM front office gear with your quarter zip that every GM front office person has to wear at all times, anytime they're in public. So thank you for meeting the uniform mandate. Let's start with what you said. First of all, obviously, a lot of White Sox fans. I'm a White Sox fan, and what as the new GM, what did you see? Let's start here at the beginning. When you were in the minor leagues and you were the minor league coordinator, what did you see that your predecessors were doing that you said, I'm going to change that right away? And then what did you implement to start on that road to changing those things?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously got a fair amount of experience within this organization being a farm director. And a farm director, the beauty of it is it, kind of touches all different areas of the organization, the international process, the amateur process, analytical process, the major league club, all those, that entire operation. So yeah, I mean, I think any experience that you have within this game, going back to other organizations I've been with, going back as a player, front office, what have you, obviously here as well, there's some things that you're like, all right, I think that part of it I really think is valuable and something that you want to apply in a role that I am now. And then there's some other areas perhaps that need to be tweaked and adjustments along the way. I mean, foundationally, and I bring up all those different areas, right? We're talking about certainly PD, and you're talking about amateur and international, your medical, and all the pillars that make up an organization. I want to make sure we're really sound in all those areas and we're not cutting corners, and making it a collaborative effort, right? I mean, it really, what gave me the most excitement about being a general manager was really bringing it all together and having the opportunity to get insight from different experiences, both from people that are that have been here with the organization or others that I've been able to bring in. So that part is something that was a priority of mine to really focus on underneath what's going on under the hood of the organization. Now, obviously, the top of the organization, the major league team, that gets all the attention in the world, as it should be, right? I mean, that's where that's what fans are tuning into on a regular basis. And you look at what we've accomplished here the last couple of years, it's been disappointing, right? And there's various reasons why I believe that happened, but it's my job to find those solutions and use the experience I have and the people that we have to solve those. I really wanted to prioritize our defense. It's something that really had gotten away from us. I know with conversations that we had with potential free agents that were coming into the organization, talking to their agents, it was a concern on the pitching front. We had players that didn't want to come here. And obviously you want it to be an attractive place for guys to want to play. So, we went out there and we feel like we're in a much better position up the middle at shortstop and second base. Obviously we got Louis Robert. We brought in Maldonado and Max Stassi and really built out a catching core to help, very much direct the traffic on the field. And ultimately looking to raise the IQ of this team, to go out there and be able to compete on a regular basis and have players that understand how to play winning baseball. So, we feel like we're in a good spot. Is it a finished product? Of course not. Are there areas that we're going to need to continue to improve? Of course, and we'll stay on top of that. But foundationally, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot.
You mentioned IQ, and you also mentioned the fact that you were really excited about being a GM. Yeah, you saw the salaries of GMs. I know, we played together for a minute in the minor leagues. Nobody wants to make minor league money, and now you're a big league GM with your quarter zip. So I get that. But you mentioned IQ. As the player development guy, do you feel like some of that IQ development happens in the minor leagues and then you supplement the big league team? Because I look at who has gotten called up from the minor leagues from the White Sox org, and some of those guys barely even played in the minor leagues. You think Luis Robert, like when you talk about IQ, the guy was almost a finished product when I saw him in Charlotte, and he had played like 6 minutes in the minor league. So do you feel like part of that as a player development guy could have been on your player development staff too, in the sense that, hey, we call this guy up, he's bringing that IQ? Or are you talking about like veteran IQ?
It's a combination of both. I mean, you look at, the development process of players, right? And when it comes into the decision of guys that are being called up to the big leagues, quite honestly, there are a lot of, there's a lot of people involved in that. And but when you're talking about a farm director, your PD staff, and what's stressing, what are you stressing with the coaching and the expectations, all those types of things, that stuff can't really change right now. The actual process is a guy need to be at this level and check this box and this box. You want to be a little bit more perhaps deliberate and prioritize and make certain areas more important. But the talent is really going to win the day. When it comes to being successful at the major league level, you have to have players that have incredible talent. And then, obviously you want to raise the IQ in those players to the level of the best you can, but also supplement it, like you said, with players coming from the outside. You get a Paul DeYoung and Nicky Lopez. You look at our bullpen with John Brebbia coming in and Tim Hill, guys that have been around the league a little bit, that have experienced a lot, and then can be kind of mixed in with that core group, perhaps that came up in the minor leagues together. So when I say raise the IQ, it's really awareness. It's baseball IQ, running the bases a certain way, taking the extra base, understanding situational baseball, and being able to execute at a high level. So, but yeah, it starts from the players that we're acquiring, whether it be on trades and the draft, international signings. Obviously, you execute a player development plan, and then you graduate them at an appropriate time to be able to go out there and perform at the highest level.
All right, Getz, hang on one sec. I was just checking my texts from you. I played for the Royals, right? Well, I mean, I was on the Royals. I didn't play. You brought all the Royals in, and I didn't get a... Hang on, I'm just going to check my history. Is it Chris with 2 S's? No? Okay. I never got a call. What was kind of the precipice of...
We're not done yet. We still have time for that, Kratz.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like you're in a pretty good spot, though. Are you looking for another job?
No, I'm not looking for another job. But you never know. My career, I'm always getting fired, so I always have to talk to people. But I'll call Barfield. I'll call Barfield if I need a job. I don't need to go to the head honcho right away. What was kind of the precipice of, like, a lot of Royals guys came over? Was that a group think? Was that a, in a sense, like Pedro and, your connection with Dayton? I know Dayton's, over with the Rangers, but, like, was that you saying, hey, we made all these connections when I was with the Royals, or was it just something that happened based on the market?
Yeah, I mean, you go through an interview process for certain positions. Obviously, this is the first time I've been the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, and but I, just like anyone, when you're building out a let's say a candidate pool, more often than not, you're probably going to go. You've got your own history and you've got others. When it comes to kind of my process in terms of hiring, gosh, I mean, you bring up Josh Barfield, for example. I never played with him. He wasn't in the Royals organization to my knowledge, but he was someone that has a tremendous reputation in this game. We were both farm directors, so we got to know each other a little bit just because we were running around the affiliates and in certain meetings during the off seasons. But there is great value in bringing in a Paul Yanish and a Josh Barfield and a Brian Bannister that have been in various organizations, so their network and their pool of candidates for the hiring process, so we can be diverse, just so we avoid the group think. Obviously, there's a level of trust that you have with some individuals because you've perhaps worked with them, but I certainly want to be open-minded because we're only going to be able to push the envelope if we're open to different ideas and be creative in finding areas to improve in an organization.
Chris, when you took the job, you just mentioned it's your first year as the White Sox GM. Does Jerry come to you and say, Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, and say, this is your budget, you have to stay within these lines, and there's no going out of it? And then do you fight back on that and say, hey, if we can sign XYZ player, this can help us not only now, but in the future coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I have yet to meet a GM that isn't given the parameters, financial parameters to go out there and put together a team or build an infrastructure. It's an ongoing discussion. If I think more than anything, and I keep on going back to like building the foundation of the organization in these certain areas. We've made a lot of changes within our facility at Arizona. We're focused on our Dominican Academy. We've improved, our analytic department, sports science, different areas. So there's different ways to kind of put the focus in regards to using your resources. And then you obviously mapping out your major league club. What's your current payroll? What are the projections for future years? Where is your team currently? Where are our prospects within our minor league system? How close are they to being ready to help our major league club? And the contract status of certain players on your club. So there are a lot of different factors. More than anything, underneath in the organization, I want to make sure we're in a good spot. We've got to look at what our needs at our major league club, and if we feel like now is the time to go and convert or at least recruit some free agents to come in that are going to cost X amount of dollars. Obviously, it's a bigger conversation. So really, yeah, Jerry or any owner is going to be a part of it. Whether you look at the past of spending within this organization, when there's someone out there that we feel like is going to help our club, Jerry is very open-minded and wants us to have a successful major league club, but we've got to justify it too. And I take ownership in that. And so I really just want to map out a plan both here in the short term, the midterm, and long term, and then go out there and plug our needs if need be.
Chris, next year, 2025 is going to be a pretty epic free agent class. I know you can't comment on exact free agents, but the White Sox are one of two teams that have never spent $100 million on a player. Do you think Jerry will give you that grace at some point to say, hey, guess what? We need to sign a guy for 5 years, 150. Do you think that's coming? Because that is one of the biggest gripes when I talk to White Sox fans. Why won't Jerry spend X amount of money on X player?
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, we've got a lot of players on this team that need to go out there and perform, and this roster needs to take shape. So I can't sit here and say we need this player X next year for us to take it to this level. I think we got to have a better understanding of the group that we have. Now, when it comes to what you're talking to of a certain amount to go out with this player, I think we've gone after free agents in the past, whether it be Manny Machado and Wheeler, stuff that's been out there publicly. And Jerry's been really supportive, but I want to make sure it's the right player at the right time for this organization to go out there and spend. And we have to feel like it's going to help us to be successful in the near term.
So, excuse me, I wanted to ask about the Dylan Cease trade, but I'm going to give credit here to Greg here on Twitter. He said, did the Cease trade start picking up steam due to the Cole injury? Maybe Preller having to act moving quickly before Cash and the Yankees jump back in. So that's part of my question was, Garrett Cole goes down, all of a sudden the talk started heating up. Was there a lot of conversation with the Yankees, and how did that all unfold here when he actually got traded?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of interest in Dylan Cease, as you would expect, and interesting offseason. I think just free agency, the way that played out, and teams were very measured on, all right, we're going to go out, we're going to try to make a trade here, or we're going to chase this free agent, but we don't know how long that's going to take. We had the international players that were coming over here as well. That's always a kind of a different process. But once we got to spring training and teams saw Dylan in person. Because quite honestly, after the year that he had last year, which was a little inconsistent, there was a little hesitancy and reluctancy, I think, based on, obviously the superficial numbers, but even the stuff to a certain extent, where early in spring training and then throughout, he was up to 98. His slider was 86 to 88. His command was strong. And once teams really started, watching those games and following that information, it became to heat up. Obviously, there were some injuries. You pointed to some of the Yankee injuries. It really takes motivated buyers, right? And in AJ Preller and the Padres, they were about to head to Korea. He was trying to really set his roster, get a strong idea of what they were going to have on opening day or when they returned. And then we had some other clubs that were there and right in the mix, right into the end. And in the end, we felt like the Padres package was the best. And ultimately, we had to weigh whether it was, all right, is this a deal that we take now or do we take this into the season? And we felt that it met a threshold that we were comfortable with and really excited about the group that we brought in.
I'm bringing up another fan question here. Even though I'm a fan of Chris Getz, it's not my question, okay? But Chris Gonzalez asks, what improvements do you have to see from Grifol going into the season? He's talking about the manager, Pedro Grifol, for our fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I remember being asked this as a player early on in my career, probably way too young to even be asked this from a major league manager. But he asked, what do you think, what makes a good manager? And, it was very easy for me, whereas we'll get the most out of the players that you have. And so I've never really changed off of that and that mindset. So obviously there's tactical stuff, the X's and O's, which is a huge part of being a manager. But ultimately, you've got to look at your roster and the players that you have, and are you getting the most out of those guys? Because if you are, you're probably going to be in a pretty good place. So the measurement for me is really, are we getting production out of Crochet and Soroka and Fetty and Kopech and Brebbia and Wilson and Garcia? Are Paul DeYoung and Nicky Lopez, are they sound up the middle, which we anticipate they are? You look at our lineup, and Benintendi looks really good right now. Is he going to be productive? You got Moncada and Eloy. You got Andrew Vaughn and Louis Robert, of course. And so if you're looking at, these core players or some of these additional players are going to be joining the roster at some point in the minor leagues. All right, what are we getting out of these guys? Is our manager, our coaches, are they preparing them? Are they motivating them? Are these guys ready to play and they understand what it takes to be a winning ball player at the major league level? So, I mean, that's the most important thing for me, quite honestly. And if I was a manager, I would expect the same thing from leadership from above. So spring training was really good. Players are chomping at the bit for tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing how this plays out.
Getzy, what's a successful 2024 for you as the GM, your first year? What's successful for you?
I mean, I think we've got to earn the trust of our fans back. We've got to establish some credibility. Okay,
hold on. I got to hold on before you dig in. Isn't that what Rick said? Or didn't Rick say that last year? We have to earn the trust back. And I understand you're different than Rick, and it's a new regime. You did both go to Michigan, though. Trust me, I'm sure you guys are both talking Michigan football. I understand. But didn't that what Rick said last year? And then last year happened, right? So then now we're into this year. So okay. Sorry, I didn't mean I interrupted you, but yes, explain to me that, and then explain to me how you win the trust back, because that was kind of going to be my next question. Why should fans come and watch? Why should they tune in to watch the 2024 White Sox?
No, I mean, well, first of all, there's just tremendous truth in it, right? I mean, I look at the team that we have and where some of these players are in their careers. We got Garrett Crochet, who's going to be a starting pitcher for the first time in his career. And, going back to what he looked like in 2020 when he obviously, it was a quick development path for him and gets to the big leagues. But, the game kind of revolved around him once he got up to the big leagues. And the stuff that he showed it was dominant stuff. And now to get the opportunity to have him as a starting pitcher is really exciting. We've got Mike Soroka, who was one of the top pitchers, in the game, and then he was hit with some serious injuries, and he's had just a tremendous spring training. He's throwing his sinker again. His slider's really good. He's got 4 pitches. He's a horse. We got Eric Fetty, who just won the KBO MVP and had one of the most successful seasons in history over in the KBO, and to have the opportunity to bring him back here to the States and show what he's capable of doing at the major league level. Just those 3 in themselves, I mean, is exciting for the White Sox and White Sox fans. Obviously, these guys need to go out there and perform, right? I mean, that goes without saying. And we've got Kopech now in the bullpen. He's had once he transitioned he looked like a guy that has got a chance to get some significant outs at the end of a game. We got Jordan Leisure that we got at a trade deadline last year, who had almost a flawless spring training, is going to be really impactful in our bullpen. We got Davey Garcia that we got in a waiver claim that was nothing short than awesome in spring training. And so I look at our pitching staff. We've got a lot of weapons there. We really do. And then we're talking about, those 5 guys at the front of our lineup, that if we can get 140 plus games out of those guys, I think we're going to be a really good spot. So there's a lot of pieces to like in this team. Obviously, I want to get the most out of these guys, and Pedro and his staff, that's what they're determined to do. But, you're faced with adversity every season. But more than anything, there are a lot of pieces to get excited about, and we're going to go out there and compete. I do feel like that we're going to play smarter baseball, cleaner baseball. So fans, obviously time will tell. And tomorrow's game 1, and then we just go from there.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with 3 questions really fast. One, because I know you have to go. Yeah, Bob Bechtel, I'm sure, is behind the screen going, "Let's go, time, let's
PR
go,
time.
let's go. It's my time now. It's my time." So first of all, is Crochet on an innings limit?
Well, we have to watch him. I mean, obviously he'll let us know, right? I don't want to sit here and say he's going to only has X amount of innings this year. I don't think that's necessarily healthy for any athlete to go out there and compete knowing that he's going to have a certain limit on them. But the way that I look at this and our staff is, all right, let's exhaust him as a starter. And at some point, if we need to adjust, we do that. But in the meantime, let's go out there and see what he can do as a starter.
Okay, 2 is closer is?
That's to be determined. We've got some guys that can do it. And that'll take shape. It's going to take.
I thought it was going to be the guy you just mentioned. That's what everyone's kind of hoping for.
Kopech?
No.
Michael Kopech?
No, the rookie.
Jordan Leisure?
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be in that role. I mean, as a young player, I mean, he hasn't played in the big leagues yet, and you want to get him comfortable, but he's got the stuff to do it. And as you know, I mean, it's not an easy role just to jump right into. I mean, those leverage situations can test you a little bit, but the makeup and the stuff is there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he evolved into our closer.
Okay, then last one for me. It's kind of a 2-parter. What can we expect from Yoan Moncada this year? Because number one, again, another question I get all the time is, what do we get out of Moncada? And then 2, when are we going to see Montgomery in the major leagues?
Yeah, Moncada. I mean, listen, he came into spring training ready to go. He knows this is a big year for him. Defensively, he was really strong. Obviously, he's a switch hitter. He can get on base, and he's got some power. I think he's going to have a good year. I really do. So much of this is going to be health. It really is. So he's going to have to manage that, which he's shown he's done in the past. But really, it's about consistency for him, so he can go out there and be the talented player that he is. And then you ask about Colson Montgomery. He's a special player. He is. He's got maturity in his game for a guy that hasn't played a lot of professional baseball. He's very under control in everything that he does. We're going to have him start at AAA. I just want him to go out there and put together quality at bats, make the plays at shortstop, and kind of go from there. He hasn't had a full season under his belt. He was nicked up early in the year last year. Once he got to Birmingham, he was really productive, and he had a strong fall league. So we'll get him to Charlotte. He's going to be with one of our best managers there, and Justin Jerschley and that crew, and I look forward to seeing that play out. But to say I don't know, he's going to let us know at the end of the day. He is. But I'm very confident he's going to have a strong season too.
Chris, appreciate the time, man. Perfect timing too, coming off spring training with everything that you just saw. So thank you. Good luck in the first full season here, running the ship, and we'll hope to catch you down the line. All right.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good luck as
Thanks,
well.
Getz. Hey, smack Bechtel and Casson for me, please.
Chris Getz, GM of the Chicago White Sox, joining us on FT Live. Thank you to all the fans that popped in with questions too, Twitter, Instagram, etc. We do look at those.
I had a billion more questions, but he has time, and he gave us 20.
Yeah, we got a good 20.
No, that was great. Thank you, Chris. I give him credit for coming on because he kind of knew he was going to get it a little bit, at least for me.
We're a tough show, like
No, but
in a good way.
But the problem that I have with Chris is not problem, like not personal problem or anything, but like I get asked all the time questions about the White Sox because people see me and they're like, what are they doing? And I don't know the answer, right? So we get an opportunity to talk to the GM who knows the answers. I want to hear the answers, and he did his GM job and answered the questions.
Yeah, especially actually, I liked at the end like the closer ask. Yeah. Most of the time, you ask a manager or GM, they're just like, "Oh, we're gonna evaluate," and you find out like when they actually open up the bullpen doors. And he was like, "No, actually, yeah, maybe Kopech or maybe the rookie at some point."
Yeah.
Right.
But he had a good spring, Leisure. So did Kopech once he went to the bullpen. I think the bullpen for Kopech is more of a role. He can come out throwing fire at 120 miles an hour with his stuff and not have to worry about innings and getting hurt. Like he just give me 2 innings of 100. Okay. Because the other day he was 99 to 101 out of the bullpen.
Yep.
That's a different Michael Kopech than what we saw the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's what you want. And Todd Father, your question about the Yanks pushing the agenda actually sounded like it was accurate. I mean, it sounded like between that and the Padres leaving early for Korea and feeling like they wanted another starter, it got to the extra prospect that they wanted.
Everything factors into every decision, and that actually, I think, helped the Padres knowing that they're leaving. Like, all right, well, let's do this, let's do that, but let's decide now. What is it going to take? Or I actually say it should help the White Sox too as well. So it's like, all right, we want to get this done. Well, let's see now. So I think it worked out well for both.
And referee asked a question. I just didn't have time to get to it, but appreciate the super chat. So we always bring those up if they're clean enough. But said, any chance of getting Mike Clevenger back? I mean, there's no chance, not for them especially. Like they're not looking – they've got, quote, enough for a rebuilding team. I mean, this is a 100-loss team.
Hopefully not, but yes.
But it's likely a 100-loss
Listen,
team.
there's more avenues for them to lose 100 than there is for them to make the playoffs.
Correct. They're not like, oh, we need Clevenger. He had a nice year last year.
He did. I'm surprised he hasn't signed. Like he's like a Michael Lorenzen type that can go into a place and.
But Lorenzen just signed this past week. Montgomery just signed last night. So
Tommy Pham and Clevenger are still out there.
Yeah, like those guys are gonna sign at some point, right? It just might be May 1st. I don't know. I mean, like, it's been crazy. Even Chris pointed out this offseason was weird, and teams were measured, and he almost said what we've been saying. Teams were being little bitches. Like they were.
I mean, he had more time because normally he had some ass. Now, listen, he made a good move, I feel like, for Bummer. He got all those Braves dudes. I mean, you got Soroka we had on yesterday, right? You got, I forget, Nicky Lopez. I mean, they Smith Shore, not Smith Shore, but the other.
He's good.
They got 5 players.
They got some dudes there.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he did good for Cease from what everyone's saying. They got Thorpe and some other guys that have a chance to be good. So, I mean, he's made moves that have helped, like getting Fetty for somewhat cheap is nice. Boom in there. The Crochet opening day starter. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card going into the offseason for the White Sox. But I think Getz has made some moves in the right direction. But can he continue it? Because the biggest thing also that we've talked about is can they develop their players? And they haven't done that in the past for a long time. So they need to develop their players into players. And can they do that? And we'll see. But that ultimately decides your fate as a GM.
Full transparency, there were a couple times where I was holding back laughing for a different reason because Yohan Moncada is not panned out in Chicago. That's not a secret, okay? He's had a lot of injuries, and he has off-field interests, so people will follow. Like he's trying to be a singer and stuff like that.
The biggest thing
I cracked a joke, and then I kind of laughed at it.
We all did.
Sorry, it was my bad, but it was in good fun.
The biggest thing with Moncada is people think he doesn't care. Fans think he doesn't care.
Doesn't play, and he's got other interests. People are going to think you don't care.
I mean, listen, I don't know him. I mean, other than walking up to him and saying hello to him, I've never really spoken to him. Now, Ozzie Guillen swears that he cares and he tries harder than anybody. Fine. But the one thing I do know about Chicago, and Todd, you played there also, if you show up and you play as hard as you can every day, they'll get behind you. Like, they just want you, like, good or bad, like, you can suck, but if you're busting your ass every day, they'll be like, all right, we can get behind this dude.
Like Luis Garcia, like one of those guys that was like...
Well, Leroy Garcia, they ran out of town. They ran him out of town, and people were kind of laughing at it. But no, but Todd knows. Todd played there. Like, if you go out and and you do your job and you bust it and you run balls out and you answer questions, the fans in Chicago will get behind, especially White Sox fans, because they are about as blue collar and as like hardworking as you'll ever see.
Agreed. I remember when I was struggling a little bit, I hitting wise, but my defense was on par. I was making plays left and right, and I was still getting fans that were saying, "Hey, keep working hard, man. Don't worry about it. Your defense is looking good." And that's, you don't want to always hear that, but still, I ended up coming around and doing pretty good. But yeah, exactly what you said. They want another champion, man. They want it just as much as any other team.
I've never played in Chicago. I played against Yoan Moncada. And the question that I had for Getzy about the IQ stuff, like, you look at Yoan Moncada back in 2017 when I played against him in the minor leagues or whatever year it was, 16, 18, somewhere in there. You're like, whoa, this dude's a multi-year all-star. This guy is a huge pickup from – I think he came from the White Sox came from the Red Sox for the White Sox. And now you look at his baseball reference page and there is no all-star games. So this is where the IQ part comes in. Sometimes elite players with elite talent, like Getzy said, need the IQ. And to me, that's where the development comes in. That's where the minor leagues is really important for people to be able to be told, you know what, you are awesome. But if you really want to be awesome at the biggest stage, on the biggest stage, at the highest level, this IQ stuff has to happen. How do I keep myself healthy? How do I run the bases correctly so that my teammates want to run the bases the same way? To me, that stuff is a minor league pinpointed development thing because you can't teach talent.
Yeah, well said. So I appreciate the White Sox for lining that up. Love talking to the GMs. So we'll try and do that more frequently.
Dude, we've had how many GMs? We've had a bunch of GMs on.
GM count's probably at 6 or 7 at this point, right?
They've been good too.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe more. I mean, do we count president of baseball ops as GMs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kobo and GM, it's just bougie.
We've had Mozeliak, Stearns, Matt Arnold, Piccolo, Getz. There's 5 off the top of my head.
Anthopoulos.
6.
Jerry DePoto.
We have not had Jerry on. Hey, I'm Jerry DePoto's #1 fan right now. We'll get to that later. Okay, I've been chatting on the replies with Seattle fans, replying at 2 a.m, and they reply instantly. But that's because it's a little earlier there, I guess. Anyway, let's actually get to manager moves, GM moves, whatever you want to call it. Actually, I would love to know what Alex Cora calls himself because I know he wants to be a GM at some point. So I think he's got more authority with the Red Sox than most managers do. Jen McCaffrey from The Athletic, who's been on the show, does a great job covering the Sox, wrote an article about Alex Cora, and there's some quotes to pick out. One, quote, "I feel like I haven't done my job the last few years." And take a quote here. "I have to improve. The vote of confidence is great, but what are we doing? What am I doing to put these guys in a situation to be successful? I've got to be realistic. I feel like I haven't done my job the last few years. I have to improve in a lot of things." And one of the steps that he brought up to kind of improve his game as a manager was off-season calls, video calls with players to catch up and just talk shop, see where they're at, talk about the season coming up. And Nick Pivetta was quoted in the story saying he's never had that many Zoom calls in the offseason, but I think it's important and it makes every individual feel that they are part of something. It's worth bringing all of this up right now because they're also on fire in Boston right now. They've been pissed all offseason. Every time someone signs, they're pissed even more. Jordan Montgomery was kind of that last name that everyone was bringing up, like maybe we can get him. And that even took a little less of a center stage topic once they lost Lucas Giolito, because again, in my mind, it's a pretty decimated pitching staff compared to the rest of the division. So anyway, thoughts on where Cora's at, and what do you think if you're a player and you see that he didn't really feel like he was doing his job well enough until now?
I mean, it's a weird quote to say right now. It's just, I don't know. It's weird timing for me to be like this, to come out now. But he's also, I don't know, there's thoughts that are running through my head, and we've talked about this a little bit before the show today, that Is he setting it up like, oh, now I'm doing a better job? Because isn't he a free agent at the end of this year?
Yes, he's Craig
So he's
Counsell.
kind of setting it up a little bit like, oh, I didn't do my job, but I did my great job this year, but the front office didn't go full throttle and give me players. So I don't know. It's weird timing. Alex Cora, listen, I've been around him a lot. I know his brother Joey very well. I always thought he was engaged. I always thought it wasn't like he was going out there not trying to win the games. So it's a weird statement to say right now.
Agreed.
I think, yeah.
Agreed 100%. Maybe it was one of those articles where they were talking about, hey, how do you feel the last couple of years? Just a random question. I mean, that's the only thing I could take from it. I don't think I think the timing's a little off. I feel like maybe it was just a question that was asked, and he's like, you know what? Let me get this off my chest. I feel like he could have done it a little bit earlier. They talk about having monster number of Zoom calls. Zoom calls are great, and I think Nick Pivetta said it. I've never had that many Zoom calls in the off season, but I think it's important. It makes every individual feel that they're part of something. End of quotes. I think that Nick understanding how to answer that question. I feel like we've had those Zoom calls during COVID. You've had Zoom calls in the off season. I don't think it's a necessity to have a lot of Zoom calls, but to check in every once in a while is good. But yeah. Maybe it's a little too much. I don't know, but I think it goes back from they're not winning. If you're not winning, there's always going to be a problem. Someone's always going to find a problem. And as the manager, you take it on your shoulders and on your chest and say, you know what, I need to do better. Well, players need to do better as well, and staff needs to bring in better, more capable athletes, baseball players to come in and win World Series, and that's just not happening.
Good managers connect. That's it. They connect. So if he needed to connect more, that's why he's having more Zooms. That's his way to connect. Then you connect. Some guys need to be spoken in Spanish. Some guys need to be kicked in the ass. Some guys need to be patted on the back. And as a manager, if you want to get the most out of your players, you have to be able to connect. And so that's probably what he's talking about. But it's also, he's pining for his next job too. He's putting himself out there. He wants to put his next contract up against what Craig Counsell just got, because he's going to be like, well, I did this in Boston and I won a World Series, which Craig doesn't have.
Here's my thing. When we just talked to Chris Getz, what did he say? When he was a player, he'd say the managers that he wanted were guys that communicated and knew his players better than anybody else and knew how to put them in good positions, right? Well, this is a way for Alex Cora to cover all those bases, right? He'd say, well, I talked to the players all offseason. I tried to put them in the best positions to succeed. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Oh, but you guys finished in last place in the AL East. But I did everything I could do.
80 wins. This team should have won 64. He's sitting in with the next team. I'm saying that after this season, he'll be like, and look what I had to deal with.
Yeah,
full throttle my ass. Am I right, guys?
But let's also not. Let's be honest here. We all, at the end of the day, if he's not going to come back, because they have a new GM in Breslow who didn't hire him. Heinblum brought him back after the suspension, right? So they have a new GM. New GMs usually bring in their own manager. So this is a way for him to start the fight for a new job. Hey, look, guys, I did everything I could at the front office. They didn't bring me back. They didn't give me any players either. So I don't know. It's just, again, weird timing.
Weird timing. It's going to be a tough year.
If the first thing he says in his new team interview, he goes to Team X and to be their manager, and he says, they didn't give me any support back there. I hope that team is like, well, book's closed. You're not hired. Anybody that comes in and complains about their last employer, see ya, because they're going to start complaining about you.
He did it last year publicly. Kratz, he did it last year publicly.
Go.
There are public comments during the season last year. I thought multiple times, and I thought it was direct shots at Heinblum, but maybe they were more shots at ownership, or maybe it was just lost in translation. But it felt to most last year like there were times where he was saying, doing the best with what I'm given here. It's not that good.
What else can I do?
Yeah. And I think his boss was saying the same thing.
They got rid of Heinblum, so now it's not on him.
Nope.
Now it's on Breslow.
Yeah. It's a rebuild. Why not just come out? I think a lot of fans actually were asking about that. They were like, can you just say you're rebuilding for a couple years?
No. No,
I
Because
not
bad
talked to
marketing?
Heimblum. I saw Heimblum. He works for the Cardinals. I talked to him. We were in Cardinals camp for a long time.
Yeah.
And listen, he just wants to lay low. He understands what happened in Boston. I'm not going to speak for the guy. And, listen, I've said it on here many times. He did what they asked him to do. Now, does he wish that he could have done some things differently? I'm sure. But he did. Dude, the first thing you're asked to do, trade Mookie Betts. There's nothing you can do to win that trade. There's nothing as a GM you can do to win that trade.
He did win the trade because you know what? He dumped a ton of David Price money. That's why people are like, oh, it's just Verdugo. Jeter Downs didn't make it, whatever. Juan actually did make it. The crux of that trade was dumping money.
Of course.
People
Not being
overlook
able
that.
to sign Buki, so they sent him away too. I mean, that was it. It was money. It was a money
got rid
move.
of a ton of money, and that's
Right?
what ownership wanted.
And they also never gave him the resources to go bam back full throttle. Even
Correct.
this offseason, like I love Craig Breslow. I think Kratz probably played with him. I played with him. I love on the Red Sox. He's great, smart, great guy. But like if you're not giving it's like Getz, right? We just talked to Getz, and I asked him about Jerry giving him the budget. If you're given a budget of $60 million and you're the Pirates, you're Ben Sherrington, you're gonna have a hard time.
Agreed. Not every team's going to be the Orioles. That's the whole. But that's the point. And we say this about the Rays too, Todd Father. Like, what happens is it's a country club, and they look at a friend and go, "Whew, what he just built. It didn't even cost him much to build it." I mean, with the Red Sox ownership group, they're like, "Look, there are some teams like the one in our division in Baltimore that's been able to build something special, and they're not spending that much to do it. And now they're a juggernaut." So they said to Chaim Bloom, "Hey, create that for us, then we'll spend on the back end." But then they were like, let's just ride out the young core and see what happens.
That we will. It's going to be it'll be a fun year over there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for the media, I guess. So
Yeah.
Injuries suck, and this one's probably going to hit Todd Father and myself the most because I feel like I was throwing down pretty good on the Reds.
Yeah.
I love Matt McClain, dude. He's a great ball player, and he was banged up. Now we get word that it's shoulder surgery to repair the labrum and damaged cartilage in his left shoulder. There's the announcement from the Cincinnati Reds. An exact timeline still to be determined, as it has a wide range of possibilities. We hope to have Matt back this season. That is a brutal, brutal loss. It's a great ball player, great rookie. And it seemed like he was a high floor guy, Todd Father. Like, you knew that he was going to be good this coming season too and not be a sophomore slumper.
Yeah, without a doubt. He's a guy that was going to be in the middle of the infield. He's kind of one of their leaders on the team. I mean, especially being a young squad, he's determined to be great. He's a spark plug. He's fast. He plays defense. Sky's the limit for this guy. If you want the truth, he was ready to be one of their best players. And, labrums are tough. I remember back in the day, that's like a year process for labrums, but I guess they've gotten better with it. So I'm hoping the best for him, hoping for a speedy recovery. This is a big blow for the Reds. And like we talked about, in spring training, you just want him to get reps and be healthy. And this is a monster loss for Cincinnati.
So where are we at, Kratz, on the Reds?
It sucks. Just like the bottom of our board says, injuries suck. And this really sucks for him. I was banging the McClain drum more than trying to make it louder than Scotty was banging the Ellie drum. Now it's time for Ellie to step up because that's his position that he, in my opinion, he essentially lost. He was the starting shortstop, Matt McClain. And now they have to figure it out. And you are going to have a tough time replacing this. But injuries, this will be our next segment. Injuries happen. And they're going to happen to everybody. The teams that I'm picking to make the playoffs have the most depth at multiple positions and are able to withstand injuries. Every team doesn't want it to be their Garrett Cole. It doesn't want it to be their Shohei Ohtani. Who is going to step up and not try to replace him, but just be able to mitigate what that guy was going to give you and hopefully take off some of the pressure from the other guys. And to me, the Reds can sustain this. The Reds have had like 9 shortstop prospects that haven't panned out in their system. Somebody's got to step up.
Good thing they didn't trade Jonathan India.
Good thing they signed Gmar Candelario.
Yeah, I mean, because they lost, what's his name, Vargas too, right?
Yep.
The guy for the steroid suspension.
Noel V. Marte.
Marte, sorry.
Sorry.
Noel V. Marte on that good.
Yeah.
And they also brought in Espinal just for some depth.
Yeah, but
Santiago Espinal from
Candelario has versatility. India has versatility. They move back. The question is, do they move Ellie back to short? Because Encarnacion Strand's going to play first this year, right?
Encarnacion Strand first. Yeah, I mean, I think they're a little worried about his glove long term, but that is where you want to try and play him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, do you move Ellie back to shortstop?
Ellie is shortstop. Yeah.
Okay. And then third base is
now.
Well, no, Ellie
now
was
he's shortstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were talking about putting him at third for a long time. Well, possibly, right?
Yeah, Ellie.
Because
I was
McLean.
talking about sending him down.
No,
And
McLean's
Scott
second base.
scoffed at me.
What were you talking about? Oh, sending him down. Yeah, they're not sending Ellie down. Yeah, if he hits 100, they'll send him down. But I'm telling
Well,
you,
he hit 100 the second half last year.
I'm telling you, it would take a lot to send him down.
You
He'd
can't
have to be
platoon.
lost in the beginning of the season.
You can't platoon him, and he's got to figure it out right-handed. You can't platoon your starting shortstop. This is the Red season now hinges on Ellie De La Cruz.
Scott, that makes Scott
Is he ready
so happy.
for it, Scotty? Is he ready?
That makes Scott so happy.
Todd, is he ready?
He asked you first.
I didn't play for the Reds. What do I know? I don't know shit. But yeah, no, I do. I do think
he's got to be ready.
I think he'll step up. Yeah, I do. Is he a top 5 player in the sport right now? No, obviously not. He's not top 10. He's not top 20, whatever, right? But this is a big league ball player. He is going to be a force with the power tool, with the base running tool. I think with the glove tool and the arm tool for sure. The hit tool is where the question mark is. I even think that the eye is better than most people believe it is. If they've only watched him in the major leagues, he actually had some decent plate discipline numbers. I thought his plate selection was fine, right? His pitch selection in the minor leagues. So I thought it showed signs of, a player that can get on base enough to do all of that damage on the bases. So for me, I think Ellie's the total package. I think there are swing and miss concerns, but he's gotten better as he's gone along. He had the ground ball rate going up. He was swinging outside of the zone, obviously, at times, especially in the second half of last year, more so than we'd seen. But Godfather, he didn't do that to an alarming rate in the minor leagues. He was a minor league star, and I do think that will convert here in the major leagues. But he's freaking huge. He's toolsy. It usually takes time for these guys.
And I think if you send him down, he's just going to dominate again. So it's like there's nowhere else to put him. Unless you bring him down to shorten his swing up. That's the only thing I can see because, agree. I mean, it's something. He has the power. I get it. But you don't always need that big swing. Take a double. Take a single the opposite way. That kind of stuff. So hopefully he worked on those things and he can move forward from there.
This is the only thing I'm going to say. Do you know the thing on the internet, on the social media? Find someone that loves you. Find someone that loves you the way Scott loves Ellie De La Cruz.
Fun player to watch. I want to be entertained.
He is.
That's what I'm here for.
Oh, you're not entertained.
Exactly. And he is shortstop because McLean's second. I mean, he's not. And now McLean's nothing for now. I don't know if he's going to be back this year. That was a dark press release. So that sucks. And then one other quick one, and then we'll get to the big news, is Brian Wu. This was from a day and a half ago, I think, but he's going to start the season on the IL, right elbow inflammation. Same situation as last year. He had about 3-ish weeks on the IL last year for elbow inflammation. Emerson Hancock to take his place in the rotation for now. You know how it is when the season first starts. You can kind of pick and choose and mostly have a 4-man rotation as well, but I think people are pretty excited about Brian Wu and the potential that he has. Brian Wu and Bryce Miller with their emergence, those two last year. So hopefully he gets back soon. That's the strength of the Mariners. So we'll see. All right, let's get to some breaking news. I know this is going to be a shocker, but the Dodgers spent money. It's
Good
amazing.
money, too.
Good money. Dodgers checkbook is back open. Here's Bobby Nightingale. They're signing Will Smith to a 10-year extension for $140 million because catchers count. Catchers get the job done. This raises their total commitments to $1.3 billion in free agent contracts and extensions this offseason. So apparently the Dodgers and just a few other teams are the only ones making money these days. But props to them. Will Smith's been one of the best catchers in the league for a while, and now he's going to spend his whole career there.
True. Good for him. He's 28. This puts him to age 38.
That's it.
Dodger. But that's old in baseball, especially for a catcher, baseball terms. But good for him. Good for the Dodgers. They know who their catcher's going to be. Question is, does Austin Barnes slide in and get 10 years, $10 million behind him?
Austin
he already got a 2 or 3 year little extension piece, I think, last year.
That was a that was a Kershaw. This is my boy. We need to take care of my boy.
Kershaw right hand man. He's 34, Austin Barnes. But yeah, I mean, Kratz, this is one of your own. This has been a dude that's done it behind the plate and at the plate. And too bad there's nothing from Dodgers territory to cover tomorrow. But what do you think?
I love it. I love it for him. I love it for the team. If you're the Dodgers, you're like, wait, we're getting Will Smith for $14 million a year. Maybe at the end it doesn't pan out, when he's 38, but right now, we have Will Smith, an all-star catcher. To me, maybe the most underrated catcher. He's athletic. He receives well, throws well, hits. I think he's got, career 126 OPS plus. And he should have signed for more because he's hitting 500 on the year. I forgot for a second when I was looking at the stats. I forgot that the season started. He's already got 500. He's already hitting 500. I'd quit now. You got your contract. See ya.
What does this do for Adley?
Oh.
Make him richer. He's much younger. Much younger.
I mean, Posey's contract's always going to be the one that guys try to live up to or try to get early on. But Posey had a Rookie of the Year and MVP already when he signed the contract. And the original contract was that they offered him before he won his MVP was small potatoes. So credit to Posey for holding out until after his MVP season. And I think he got 8 years, 160. So you're talking more of a $20 million catcher. That's where I see Adley at. I see Adley in the 19 to I guess you can't say 20, but times have changed. It's 10 years ago that he signed a contract. So about $20 million catcher, switch hitter that wins and plays behind the dish.
He's a business guy, on the field, I think, just watching him. Sorry to interrupt you, Scott. But he doesn't get too up, doesn't get too low. He's just business as usual. And he's just, every time he's up, I feel like he's going to do damage. So just one of those guys where it's like, all right, he's not the biggest guy. He's not the smallest guy, but this guy could play, man. He's a ball player. And that's the biggest thing I take out of this. And I congratulate him, man. This is really cool for him. He could breathe again. Oh, well, not again. He could breathe a little bit more and say, you know what? Now I could just play baseball and go get after it. So congratulations.
Jacob in the chat said, I think he left money on the table. Could have had JT Real Muto money. I mean, I think this guy really wanted to be there. Yeah. I don't know how much. How much does he get on the? He doesn't get 10 years on the free agent market when he gets there.
He matches up with Shohei.
Oh, the deals, yeah.
Because the question is, I know we're saying he left money on the table, but he's probably going to get more. I thought I saw where there was some deferred money, but he's probably getting some more money up front, and then he's going to, as he gets older, they're probably going to push some money back. We'll have to see the details, but this is great for him. It's great for his family. It's great for the Dodgers, and there's another Dodgers star that they can look at and say, hey, man, we got Mookie for a while, we got Freddie for a while, we got Shohei for a while, Yamamoto for a while, Will Smith for a while. They got some dudes locked up. And that's the heart of their order for a while.
Yeah. 5 years, $115.5 million for JT Realmuto when he signed. And that was a painful process for him, remember?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was basically a stare down with the Phillies. So that's pretty good coin for Will Smith. But it helps the Dodgers a lot. Let's keep this part in mind. The number one problem for the teams that want to win right now is the luxury tax, aka the salary cap. So 10 years, 140 means that Will Smith, and I got to see what the deferral situation is, but at a max, he's costing $14 million against their luxury tax number each year.
By the way, he does, but it's Will Smith's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Will!
This Will?
Yeah,
Wow.
He's 29 tomorrow.
He better have a good party.
Oh man, he better invite Kratz and I to that party. I'm gonna be in San Diego this weekend. It's not that far, Will. I'm just saying.
I'm in.
So if you're him, you get rich, you get to stay with the team that you've been playing well with, and you get to be on a contender. I mean, has he ever missed the playoffs? No. He might never miss the playoffs. He might spend 16 years in the bigs and make the playoffs every year.
So he's only got 4 years, a little over 4 years, Kratzy. So, I mean, he's still got 2 more years of arbitration before he can hit free agency. So that's why the number may be a little bit lower than what people are expecting. But, I mean, he's still wiping out 8 years of his free agency time. But he wasn't going to get 8 years probably on the open market anyways because he would hit it at 31. No one team's going to give him 8 years on the open market. So good for him, man.
And listen, there's no telling what's going to happen in free agency nowadays, dude. I'm taking that money and I'm running. Shit's crazy.
I think this is a middle of the road deal. I think this is fair for the player, fair for the team.
And you know what? I want to point this out about the Dodgers too, because they've obviously been run well as an org. Sure, you'd like to see another championship or two with what they've got, and that could be coming at some point. But Justin in the chat said 29 other teams could have drafted Will Smith. He was a late first-round pick, and it's the story of the Dodgers. When you're good every year, you pick at the back of the first round of the draft. And the really, really good talent at the front never comes to you. So you have to find a, quote, diamond in the rough in the first round, a guy that you think should be picked much higher and a guy that you can develop. Will Smith was number 32 overall in 2016. And that was the famous 2016 draft. They had like 8 dudes from that draft that ended up being legit.
The Dodgers?
Yeah.
Dude, Kratz, let's go do your job. Get Will Smith on here. His middle name is Dills. We got to find out why his middle name is Dills.
Dills or his nickname?
No, his middle name is Dills. D-I-L-L-S. Dills. So do your job.
William Dills. I don't know, but this is what we just talked about with the White Sox, Scotty. Pick at the end of the draft. IQ. Guys that maybe aren't as talented, but they learn to have an approach at the plate. They learn to control a pitching staff. You teach them that stuff. And then you go, Will Smith isn't like the most imposing figure. So if you're just constantly picking based on talent or playing guys based on talent and not developing that IQ in the minor leagues, what do you expect to get? Just hope, hey, it wasn't my fault. Pick the tallest, strongest guy in the entire draft. Well, he didn't even like baseball. Or he never listened to us coaches. So that's where the IQ stuff comes in. And the Dodgers, it's not even the rich getting richer. It's just the fact that they're running an absolutely tight ship over there.
They are. I mean, that draft, and that was a comp pick apparently for Greinke. 2016, they picked Lux, 20th overall, Will Smith, 32nd overall, Jordan Sheffield at 36, Mitch White at 65, who played some big league time. Dustin May was pick 101. Actually had Luke Raley in that draft. Tony Gonsolin, 9th round. He's pretty good. Got a lot of big leaguers
Dustin
in that
May would be
draft.
really good if he could ever just stay healthy, man.
Yeah, he'll be back at some point this year again.
I wonder if Todd grew his hair out, if his hair would look like Dustin May's.
Never.
No?
No, I'll never grow my hair out.
Really?
Well, no, we don't. I mean, you might never do it, but will it look like Dustin May's if you did grow it out?
I'll look like what's his name in Kingpin the movie, where it's all like up in the air.
Straight up.
Ish?
Yeah.
Hey, that's Eric's people now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Careful.
I didn't bash him. I didn't bash him. I'm just saying that's how it would look.
Hey, by the way, if you want more of the Dodgers conversation, tomorrow is how we show off being a full-fledged network. We'd have Fair Territory with Alana Rizzo and Ken Rosenthal running into FT 1 to 3, and then right after FT is DT. Dodgers Territory, Alana Rizzo and Clint Pasillas. They made their debut as a duo on Monday. It was a great show. Obviously, they were covering all the Shohei Ohtani drama, and they'll be all over this Will Smith signing. I mean, they know what they're talking about. They use their sources within the org and around the org, so we'll get more insight from them tomorrow on Dodgers Territory. And before we move on to a fun little seg we have prepared, apparently there's rain in the Northeast. I know. Shocker. It's raining in the Northeast, and the Brewers and Mets are not going to play ball tomorrow. What about Philly? Isn't Philly at home?
Dude, it's always sunny in Philadelphia, kid.
Except in the World Series when I went to a game and it got rained out. But other than that, it was always.
Why you got to bring up old stuff?
Are the Phillies going to play? They play the Braves tomorrow, 3:05 Eastern.
It's looking like they're going to play. It doesn't during their game time. It looks like they're going to play. Last I saw.
There's a window.
There's a window.
Oh,
if the Mets aren't playing,
the dreaded.
Phillies
There's a window.
Usually, I mean, the Mets game was supposed to be 1:40, so you're telling me 2 hours later it's all sunny?
There's a window, bro.
Okay.
Don't you understand what that means?
I very much understand. I've heard that term way too many times, and it's wrong 54% of the time.
It's different in Florida. It could be raining in one town. The other towns got sun.
Philly, Atlanta, postponed. Look at Kratz.
Wow, Kratzy, and you didn't know that. Unbelievable.
That is ridiculous. You're supposed to be our insider.
Yep.
I'm calling about my own game. I'm talking about my own game. Okay. It's really smooth up here. It's always raining in the Northeast. Why do you even live in the Northeast? It's so brutal, bro.
Right? Tell me about it. How's Baltimore playing and Philly's not? Baltimore's tougher than Philly. That's what I'm learning.
Whoa.
They have a new owner, which we'll get to as well.
Yeah, they installed a dome.
Isn't Baltimore like 5 minutes from Philly?
It's a couple hours, right?
Hour and 25?
I tell you where they're not postponed, San Diego.
I'll tell you where they're not postponed. Milwaukee. Everyone should have a retractable
Tampa.
roof, but don't get me started there.
Miami. Although in 2015 we opened in Miami when I was with the Braves, we had a rain delay because they couldn't get the roof closed fast enough. So it was opening day, big crowd. Stop. 20-minute rain delay because they couldn't get the roof closed fast.
Do they even have the proper equipment to get rid of the rain there?
I don't know, but we had a rain delay on opening day there, 2015.
Not midseason form. Okay, a couple things to get to.
We had a rain delay in Milwaukee. Kyle Kendrick was pitching, and he was getting drenched on the mound. And we're sitting in the dugout because the stadium, the stadium's closing like this. It was just raining on him, ball, raining on him. And then it was like, last out, boop, closed. We had puddles. We had to have a delay. They had find turfus from somewhere. It was great.
Okay, and he got traded to Japan.
I feel bad for Kyle Kendrick.
Don't. He
went through it. No, I know.
He did go through it.
Okay, so I'm looking at the schedule for tomorrow, and everyone says, "Oh, you should put all the teams need to start in the warm weather and this and that." Well, okay, so the two games already postponed. Mets outside, Philly outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
San Diego not postponed, LA not postponed, Tampa Dome not postponed, Kansas City, okay, Miami Dome, Houston Dome, Texas Dome, Oakland, Arizona Dome, Seattle Dome. They're all good. White Sox, not a dome.
The Midwest should have domes. Retractable roofs. Remember, Minnesota goes from all dome to no dome. That was a miss. It's a great ballpark, but come on.
Wait, are they playing in Cincinnati tomorrow? Let's ask our resident Cincinnati expert.
Todd Father?
I'm not the Cincinnati expert.
Well, they're going to delay the season like
I
3-4
just played
months.
there.
till
That was
McClain
it.
comes back. Yeah. Allie will make it rain.
They always get the first home game because they were the first team to ever play.
I like the tradition. Yeah, I like that. All right, ready for this? What do you meme? Let's run some popular memes as we sum up the offseason. Exactly. Hey, you're the pipes here, so go for it. That was the intention. So here's our first meme. Garbage, dumpster, fire teams from the offseason. Which team, in your mind, best resembles the first meme here, that everything is okay? But it's not.
The Rockies.
Well, no. I mean, the smoke makes sense, but nah.
I mean, this is the Red Sox.
Yes.
I was going to say the Red Sox, too.
It's got to be the Red Sox. They're telling you everything's okay. Is it?
Yeah. See, if they would have went full throttle, the dog would have been in the fire too. But since they only went half throttle, there's space for the dog.
The dog would have been rescuing people in the home if they went full throttle. He would have tried. But he's not trying. He's sipping his coffee. Some people saying Yanks. White Sox. The White Sox are rebuilding.
What?
I don't
Dude, how can you do the Yankees? No way.
Well, they're saying the Yankees because Garrett Cole's hurt, probably.
No.
Okay.
They still are gonna. They still have Juan Soto.
They
got
Vaughn.
Stroman. I mean, they made some moves. The Yankees made good moves this offseason. It just we'll see. Cole going down hurts them.
Next up. Oh, it's green. I used to care what other people thought of me until I tried to pay my bills with their opinions.
This is also the Red Sox. Because the owners are like, we used to care, but now we don't care, and they don't pay our bill. They don't pay our bills, so we don't care what they say. Yep, that's John Henry right there, sipping his tea when he's watching Liverpool play in the English Premier League.
That's what he said with John Stanton, Mariners owner, yesterday. And one quote I left out was how he basically said he doesn't give a fuck what fans say. He's got thick skin, kind of thing. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, I don't let that stuff get to me. Fans were like, cool, I'm glad you don't care.
I'm glad you give us the time of day.
Yeah. He's like, I don't care. Those people? They've never been on my yacht.
This could actually be the Dodgers too. Because people are like,
it could be
the Dodgers,
the Cubs
they're
as well.
a good team, and they're like, screw that, we're spending more.
Crazy.
Well, they heard about the Diamondbacks.
What about the A's?
The A's are perfect for that. Yeah. I mean, John Fisher actually does care what people think about him. That's part of the problem. You can't even reply to his tweets. How about this one?
It was nice they got me as a child.
That was my haircut too, except I had a longer mullet in the back. But this is the Royals. This is the Royals off season. Yeah. Great job.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Kratzy, 100%. Okay.
Little AJ.
I would have said the Reds before what happened with the infield with McClain, and
that was the other team I thought of.
You're like, all right, cool. We got Frankie Montas for $16 million. Cool. And the Diamondbacks also fit this too.
Diamondbacks till yesterday. Diamondbacks till yesterday.
D-backs are like,
but even after getting Monty, they're like
Monty?
Yeah, they're
still available. It's like if you're in a fantasy league and most of the other people don't pay attention to baseball, and you just see some dude on waivers who's way too good to be on waivers, and you're like, okay, I'm in. Next. For the team that waited all spring training long and still did nothing, here's SpongeBob. Me after pressing remind me tomorrow on updates for the 5th time this week. For me, this is the Cubs.
Oh.
Right?
Actually, it's the Giants, and then they actually got to the remind.
Again and again.
Oh.
Just looking at his face. Yeah, agreed. No doubt. Cubs.
Cubbies.
I called Rowdy SpongeBob the other day. He got kind of
mad. There's Rowdy. Who's this?
Oh, that's the Dodgers.
Team? Well, that's me as a kid, but that's the Dodgers.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
The Braves.
Yeah, and the Braves. Kind of all dancing in unison.
Orioles
the Braves,
when they signed
right?
Corbin Burns.
That's the Dodgers, and that one right there, that's the Braves. Because they're all just like, yeah, we here, we paid, and this guy's like, yep, I just got all the money. That's the Guggenheim people, just like, yep, I'm out of your
By the way,
league. We paid.
Kratzy, the Guggenheim people, they got so much money, they sponsored their own team in Korea. On their helmets, it said Guggenheim. They got so much money, they sponsored their own team.
And their sleeve.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's such a flex. We are the sponsor.
We're the sponsor of the team we own.
By the way,
it's probably some kind of tax write-off of some kind where you own a business and then you own the property and the business pays you rent, that kind of thing. So Guggenheims are like, not only did we get this $50 million in advertising, it's essentially free and a write-off. Oh, we got it. And look at them. Braves doing it. Guggenheim
That's
doing
Shohei
it.
with his new wife. Look at him.
No, you guys are missing the big one because we're not going to have time for it later. The Orioles sale is official, and the new ownership's already talking about how like it's their civic responsibility. Like they're trying to basically say, "Yo, we're here for the city, not for John Angelos." So it's a big changing of the guard, going from the late Peter Angelos, his son John Angelos, his complete dumpster fire running the team and opening his mouth. And now he gone. Congratulations to the city of Baltimore. You should freaking party tonight and tomorrow for opening day. Let's get into our BetMGM Futures, shall we? All right, so we are a day off from the season starting for everyone else. I know there were 2 games last week. We're going to give our predictions tomorrow, some kind of general predictions for the whole season so that people can make fun of us when we're wrong. But let's just keep it nice and simple today. World Series winner. Where do we find value? Dodgers 350, Braves plus 450, Astros, Yanks, Orioles, elsewhere. I like Baltimore on there. Kratzy at plus 1,300.
I love it. I was honestly going to say the Yankees, but at 1,300, I can't not get $1,300 for $100. Please sign me up. Baltimore Orioles.
Houston. They're always a contender at 800. Put a couple notes on that one. Yeah, they're always a contender to me, no matter how you put it. Plus 800, I thought they would be like plus 400, but I don't make the rules.
What about the Diamondbacks? So I was on Sean BetQL this morning, and I was like, really? They're still at 40-1 odds? Yeah, they're plus 4,000.
What?
That play? Yeah, the Diamondbacks and the Reds are at the same level for World Series winning, plus 4,000 right now. And teams ahead of the Diamondbacks include the Rays. Wait for this, okay? Teams ahead of the Diamondbacks right now for World Series. Rays, Cardinals, Cubs, Twins, Blue Jays. I feel like Arizona's getting slighted a little bit here.
Yeah, agreed. I would have said on this list that we're showing right here, Astros and Orioles are the value picks for me. The Yankees, if goal's out for a while, they're not going to be able to make it. Mm-hmm. Astros will make a move if they have to. The Orioles have the prospect capital to make a move if they have to. There's just not enough value for me in the Dodgers and the Braves.
San Francisco plus 4,500, even lower than the Diamondbacks. Odds not loving the NL West besides the Dodgers.
That's why.
Because there's too many other teams, or because it's the Dodgers?
Because the Braves and Dodgers. I'm sure you're getting more money. You're getting more money out of the American League teams because they don't see anybody beating the Braves and the Dodgers.
All right, there you go. First bet offer for $1,500 is on right now on the BetMGM Sportsbook app or at BetMGM.com. When you use the bonus code FOUL, F-O-U-L, and sign up and deposit at least $10 into that account, place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. We've also got North Carolina, just a baby, just a couple weeks old, where you can place there. And the promotion there, if you use the bonus code FOUL, is bet 5, get 150 in additional winnings, regardless of the outcome of your wager. So you'd get that in bonus bets. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We do need to get excited, though. I need at least like a golf clap. I need something for Orioles fans. A lot of really excited people in Baltimore today. I'm telling you. I got texts like, you talking about him today? I was like, a little, but we talked about it a lot yesterday or the day before, so you can watch that back. It's the same thoughts. It's a formality. Yes, you got approved. David Rubenstein and his group taking over the Orioles. They're a real team with a real owner. It's awesome, though, for the city. Imagine if you're a fan of the Orioles for the last 10, 15 years. Now you're good and your biggest problem is out.
I'm a White Sox fan for the last 10 or 15 years.
Yes. You're still going through it. But thank you to Chris Getz for joining us. Kratz Hatz, what do you got?
Opening day tomorrow. Nothing better than the Pirates hat. Old school, except got a little, not the sweat. Don't look at the sweat. The nice little white piping around there. The good teams, they don't need to change their hats.
Grade?
D.
Todd hated his time with the Pirates.
Terrible. Just a regular P. No bueno.
D.
I'm going C just because I was there the other day and they were great. So
yeah,
C.
They're nice.
They're not quite the Pirates hats with the yellow rings around them, but
I like Derek Shelton too. I think he's a good manager.
Awesome. I've known Shelton forever. He's awesome.
Players love him, but he's also kind of like a badass. I don't know. I think he's a good manager.
He had a commercial.
He had a what?
He had a commercial. The Derek Shelton hitting tool.
Oh, right.
You're
right. My last one is the Oakland A's are opening the Coliseum parking lot just 2 hours before their opening day game, potentially hampering fan groups' plans to hold a boycott and a rally. You can't make this shit up. They literally, they literally go into their offices each day, certain people, and they sit down and they go, "What can we do?"
What? Forget that. What's the over under and how many people are actually going to go into they play Cleveland, right?
Yes. They're saying so.
What's the over under? Like, put an over under number on attendance for that game, and then the second game. What's the over under attendance for the second game?
I think game 1 will be 2,000. Game 2 will be 3,000.
Game 2 is going to have more than game 1.
Well, game 1, even if you're heading into the ballpark, there'll be people outside the ballpark saying the party's here. This is where your people are. We can watch the game on TV. Don't support this poison. And they're saying that they can't open it, as much, as early, I should say, as they usually do because of the attendance. Like, there's not as many people there, so they don't need to open it as early. Here's the thing, though. There's going to be thousands and thousands of people having a friendly, awesome tailgate out there. So mean. Okay, so you're going to have traffic jams and safety hazards if it's not open earlier the way it should be. Top Father, imagine if there's a Jets or a Giants game and they're just like, all right, open in 2 hours before. 75,000 people, have fun. I know it's not going to be 75K, but it's going to be a lot. My guess is at least 20,000. You can't open that shit right like that. They're trying, obviously, to deflect this. So I actually think the city needs to step in and say, sorry, you're not in charge. Those gates will open sooner because we're not going to have a public safety hazard. So we'll see what happens. That's tomorrow, though. Going to get a lot of attention.
I think it's going to be packed house, but we'll see.
Packed house outside, not inside.
Inside.
Outside.
No, inside.
No,
opening day.
Outside.
They're going to pack it and open
it.
You know what they should do?
No.
It's opening day, dude.
Here's the
Todd,
problem.
they're doing a boycott, though, outside.
But they shouldn't do the boycott there because they're paying for parking. So the A's are going to get the money from parking. They should figure it out and do somewhere else.
Exactly. But that's where you can kind of convene in a large space and make a statement peacefully.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I'll be on NYY recaps with our boy Derek tonight, behind the scenes. Appreciate you. See everyone for opening day. One sleep left.